Well, hello everybody. Um, it's time for Pokemon Sparkling Love and Pokemon Dazzling Love. A little project I've been working on. I'm trying to decide what exactly I'm going to do with it. I think I finally figured out what the hell I wanted to do. Oh, and by the way, what's in the background? What's in the background is the theme to Pokemon Sparkling Love slash Pokemon Dazzling Love. The theme to it. You know how my Hero Academia Pokemon crossover, and then my whole Naruto and My Hero Academia crossover, and well, every other thing. Well, I'm gonna kind of do the same thing, but different because I'm gonna do voice acting, like hella voice acting. I'm gonna actually try this time. I don't know how good it's gonna be, but I'm gonna let you know I'm gonna try. Don't know if you know, but I'm actually in my chair this time. See, I swiveled around in my little swivel chair, so you guys could, tell. There's actually quite a bit of Pokémon in this that I'm going to be making up for this specifically. Seeing as it's, a new, Pokemon game, supposedly. You gotta have new Pokemon. Or as some would call it, like Pokémon. New Pokémon means a new region. Kinda. What I wanted to do with Sparkling Love and Dazzling Love is not really a new region, but two new regions, and something in between that. And even more than that. You see, the Platinum Dragons, which is basically two regions connected together by a bridge, and then there's something beneath the bridge, and then there's something above the bridge. You see, the Platinum Dragons is fucking huge. And I'm not just saying that, it is huge. You see, there's a region to the west, and there's a region towards the east. Like toward the west of the bridge, and towards the east of the bridge. Where we'll be starting up our journey is in the eastern part, which is known as Kyoshi. The western part, like the starting town of the eastern part, like basically the region that is towards the east of the bridge is Kyoshi, and the region that is towards the west of the bridge is Fantasia. Where we will start our little journey is towards the east of the bridge. also in Kyoshi, where we will be. The starting town within the Kyoshi region is Sombra Town. And yes, I do know that Sombra is Spanish for shadow. At the time of this, I wasn't completely fully aware of the Paldea thing. You know, the Iberian Peninsula being a connection of, Mexico or Spanish or whatever the frick. Fuck, whatever. Anyways, let's get on to the story. This story instead of being in hell, the characters of Hazbin Hotel are within this instead. Now, just because I said I would do voice acting doesn't mean I'm not gonna do, like, freaking, narration. Because in the midst of this coastal household in Sombra Town, Sombra being Spanish for shadow, the cozy little Sombra town, there is a family. A father, a mother, and their daughter, and their daughter's friend. Said daughter is the name of Charlotte, though they like the nickname of Charlie better. And their friend, Baggy. They seem to be in the middle of dinner after just exiting the moving van from their previous home. A little bit of a reference to the Gen 3 games. Anyways, it was kind of like that. So yeah, after, waking up from the previous day, Charlie's all well rested. And, dresses up, and, does what she needs to do. And then finally goes out of her room, and beside her room is the, you know, guest room. In the guest room, there are two beds. One for Charlie's friend, Vaggie. And the bed next to Charlie's friend is her new friend, her and Vaggie's new friend, Angel Dust. Though, they decide just to call him Angel. For, currently. And once everybody's up and at 'em and ready to go, and they've had breakfast, and said their goodbyes because they're around the age to where they can go on their own Pokemon journey. And it's time. They're real excited to get their own Pokemon from the professor. Professor Sakura. All the way where, Professor Sakura is. And so the three head out. Leaving Sombertown. And soon they reach Route 100 and Route 101. And Vaggie is like, don't you think it's a little dangerous? I mean, without any Pokemon? And Charlie is like, not very sure if they should just, do this. And Angel Dust is like, guys, come on, where's your adventurous spirit? And soon enough, deciding to go ahead and go in anyways to Route 100. They seem to be having good enough luck in Route 100, but as soon as they hit Route 101, something changes. of a sudden, it happens. Rustling within the bushes. I see a Pokemon that looks like a shaggy dog with a big jaw. And another Pokemon looks like one of those pinwheel straw-like things that you put in, drinks. And it seems that Charlie doesn't even have enough smarts to name these things off. Oh my! Grudgeron and Strawlele. Yes, Grudgeron and Strawlele. They already ran into wild Pokemon and they don't have any to defend themselves. And then all of a sudden, coming out of nowhere, is this lady, and she has pink hair and chopped up brown eyes. And, well, dark brown skin. Her hair goes about around to her, mid-back. And they finally realize, it's Professor Sakura. She even has the Pokeball out. No, 2 Pokeballs. They're Kecleon and Shiny Kecleon. And they swiftly defeat the 2 wild Pokemon. The 2 Kecleon do, the regular Kecleon and the Shiny Kecleon that belong to Professor Sakura. Oh boy, that was something, now was it? What were you doing in the tall grass? Then she sends out another Pokemon. Abra, teleport. And her Abra teleports all of you, basically. Charlie, basically all of them. Charlie, Vaggie, Angel, Professor Sakura, and itself to her lab. And finally, they make it to where Professor Sakura's lab is. Soleada City. Soleada being Spanish for sunny, for those of you that do not know. Charlie's eyes, she already has stars in her eyes. Vaggie is like literally thinking that they're going to be punished for, doing something so stupid. And Angel is just really pumped after, that display of power from the two Kecleons and then the display of power from the Abra. He's like really pumped. And also he got to see two new Pokemon. And you could say that after all this, Professor Sakura is basically walking these children all the way up to her lab, and it's like 3 more kids are supposed to come up, any time now. Or at least that's what I was told. And like Charlie and Vaggie and Angel are like, wait, what? And lo and behold, 3 more kids do show up. And these 3 kids, it turns out Charlie, Vaggie, and Angel, well, out of those 3, Angel seems to be the only one who knows a good amount of them. You see, 2 of them have the names Vox and Val. However, the 3rd one, Charlie knows oh so well, and so does Vaggie. And let's just say, Vox and Val don't exactly like the 3rd one, but, they more or less just hang on because of some specific ties. We'll get to in later parts of this, story. The 3, certain, children, seeing as they're all children in this, so seeing as it's Pokemon, so yeah, they're all 10-year-old in this. Anyways, the 3 other kids, Vox, Val, and Al, short for Alistair, and Val, short for Valentino. And you don't need a really short Vox's name, it's already short. So Vox, Val, and Al are the 3 other kids that just showed up. And Professor Sakura is like, you're just in time. Oh, and is that... yes, Alistair. And if you're wondering how Professor Sakura knows of Alistair, Well, it turns out that Professor Sakura is... Drumroll, please. Alistair's auntie. Aunt. Yes, that's right. And, Al is like, Auntie, like, and Professor Sakura is like, Alistair, you know why I'm doing this. I trust you, but your friends are a bunch of heathen troublemakers. I don't even know why you couldn't make better friends. And the only reason why Vox and Val didn't give Professor Sakura a look is because they want Pokemon. Yeah, they know better if they want Pokemon to not, give looks to the professor of Pokemon of this specific region. And then they finally get to go into the lab. Professor Sakura's lab. And whenever they enter, like, like something's running up towards as soon as they enter. And just like enters like Al's lap, like Alistair's lap. And it's like, oh, Pichu. And Professor Sakura's like, oh my, Pichu seems to have missed you a lot. I hope all that studying was worth making it worry sick about you. Worried sick about the one that it loves so much. And in referring to Pichu, it's also referring to herself, seeing as Pichu is at the lab and she's always at the lab. Or, outside doing whatever sort of, professor work. She worries about him too. And, Alistair's like, sorry, Auntie. I didn't mean to make you worry. I don't mean to make you worry ever. And Val is just like, and Vox is like, ow, and like Val's is like, ow. And Vox is like, don't do that. He's supposed to be our friend. We don't do that to our friends. It's okay to, joke around, but not whenever it deals with family. Vox actually cares. Valentino is just an asshole. But maybe he has his reasons. Maybe not. And after that whole debacle, Professor Sakura is basically like, well, it seems you already have something or someone that wants you more than you possibly could ever want it. And Al's just like, no, I care for Pichu. I care for Pichu a lot. And Pichu just holds out a stone, and Alistair's just like, is this the energy stone? And it's not spelled like how energy is spelled. It's N-R-G. That's how energy stone is spelled. N-R-G stone. That's how energy stone is spelled. So I was like, is this the energy stone? And Pichu was like, Pichu. And Professor Sakura is like, you know what, that will cause to happen, right? And Alistair's like, yeah, which is why I want to wait before we do that, okay, Pichu? But as for partners, sure, I'll have you as my partner. And Pichu is just like, Pichu. And he's just like racing around his legs, like super happy. Because you guys, Pichu lives at the freaking lab. Professor Sakura never told Alistair why Pichu always was around the lab every time he saw Pichu. Every time he just saw this in particular Pichu, it was in the lab. He was never told why, even by Professor Sakura, his own aunt. But Professor Sakura is still on the fence if she should tell Alistair now that he's going to be a trainer. She's like, soon. Maybe maybe we should tell him together. And so Alistair's got it in his head, now that he has the NRG stone, NRG, not energy, NRG stone. Now that he has that, and the in particular evolution that can cause, yes, literally, if, a Pichu is affected by the NRG stone, it can, evolve into something that is not Pikachu, but is completely different. Well, more or less different, but similar. It's its own evolution. Far more powerful than Pikachu, even a Pikachu with a light ball. It's even far more powerful than that. This in particular evolution. However, Alistair still wants to wait before he just thrusts Pichu into evolving due to the power of the Energy Stone. However, there are still like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people left. And we're going backwards, so Valentino's next. You know, it seems that there are 2 Eevees on a table. One of them having a necklace that has a piece of what looks to be some sort of enchanted iron on it. And the other one seems to be having like some sort of a necklace with like a piece of enchanted, like, hardened ectoplasm on it. Like, what the hell? And the thing is, like Professor Sakura says that these stones on these in particular necklaces are like the evolutionary stones that kind of induce these 2 certain new evolutions. The stone that looks like iron will induce the evolution of Steelion, and the other stone will induce the evolution of Spectrion. Steelion and Spectrion. Steelion being pure steel type, and Spectrion being pure ghost type. And since we're going backwards, basically, I just decided that we would go backwards. That means that the next person to pick a Pokemon would be Valentino. And Zoo just acting like, which one would, He basically just looks in between the 2, evolutions on the table, and he's like, I'm picking the ghost. And he just grabs, like, yoink. And, Box is like, what I'm left with, I don't exactly hate, and, I actually find quite nice. Thanks, Val. He actually quite likes the idea of a steel-type evolution. And now for the other starters. Because ahead of time, people were actually told why there's like 6 different starters. Because of the fact that there are like 2 different regions, like the entire Platinum Dragons are composed of 2 different regions and like a bridge, like in between those 2 different regions. And then what's above and below that bridge. So basically 2 different, starter things. Which is why there's like 2 Eevees, 2 different Eevees. And, one like sort of Pikachu clone-like thing. Even though I don't consider that Pichu a Pikachu clone, seeing as it's part of his evolutionary line. Why can't people get that? So, yeah. Basically, the next ones to be introduced are the ones that are actually, native to, the entire thing, and more in the way of just not being like a new version of what's already around, like a Pikachu clone, and like like evolutions, like new evolutions, but like fully new starters, like 3 fully new starters, seeing as we're going in reverse. And seeing as we're going in reverse, Angel picks first. Angel is like, he wants to, know about, each starter before he picks. And so, Professor Sakura is basically bringing up, like, oh, I was going to talk about each starter before, anything was, decided. You see, there's the grass-type starter, Arya. It isn't just grass, it isn't just mono grass, it's actually grass flying. It's Arya, the tree bird Pokemon, seeing as it's actually grass flying type. Covering for grass's, flying weakness with the fact that it's grass flying. So it shouldn't have the flying weakness if it's part flying itself. However, that raises a little bit of a conundrum in, its ability. Well, the ability that this specific one has. The ability of all Aryas. Because Arya as a Pokemon. Arya has the ability Defeatist. And everyone's just like, wait, what? And as for this specific Arya's nature, it has 'It has an adamant nature. Yes, the ability Defeatist, but the nature being adamant. So yeah, it has that combination. It is 2 feet 7 inches tall and is 8.7 pounds. It weighs 8.7 pounds. Its height is 2.7. Like that. Yeah, it's 2.7 feet. But its weight is 8.7 pounds. It's a very small Pokemon. Like around the height of, certain small Pokemon. But it's still sizable, but it's small. It's under the double digits. And as for stats, let me bust out the calculator on it. It has HP of 91. Attack of 55. And the attack and special defense. The attack and special. I meant to say attack and special attack. For each star, the attack and special attack. Actually, for every Pokemon in this entire game, because of how like effed up my head is on math. For like certain things, yeah. Basically, whenever it concerns attack and special attack, the attack and special attack are basically the same. So yeah, 91 HP. $55 attack, 55 special attack, $44 attack. I mean 44 defense. Fuck. 44 defense. 44 special defense. Plus $92 speed. Rounding out to more or less a base stat total like BST. Rounding out to a BST of 381. Yes. Aria's BST, base stat total, is 381. Yeah. Hope that you could keep up with my bullshit math, because I don't think I could keep up with it. Basically, yeah, with all this stat rundown, it has a BST of 381. As for the level you receive it at, seeing as this is the professor's lab and, Arya is the starter, the grass starter, it's level 5, and we're going by, certain logic. So it would have the moves Peck, Round, and wait, is Round an attacking move? Wait. Peck is indeed a move that it has. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Round isn't an attack yet. No. So, scrap that. It does skip Peck. Yeah. At level 5, it has Peck and Screech. And Absorb. And Air Slash. Yeah, it has 4 moves, being Peck, Screech, Absorb, and Air Slash. Why Absorb and Air Slash? Well, because Absorb is a grass type move and Air Slash is a flying type move. And I want to cover the basis of both types. Even if you just now got it at level 5. And me mentioning round, yes, it will eventually get round. Oh, and it also has the, hidden ability Forced Voice. A little something that I'm going to make. Certain hidden abilities that I'm going to make up. And one of those hidden abilities that I'm going to make up, Forced Voice. That's basically a grass type version of Liquid Voice. Making a round instead of a water type move, turning it into a grass type move. That's Forced Voice instead of Liquid Voice. So yes, it has the hidden ability Forced Voice. And now to the next Pokemon, Flareago, the Fire Dragon Pokemon. This one is 2 feet and 7 inches, tall. And 7.2 pounds. It is both fire and dragon type. It has the ability Flash Fire. It has the hidden ability Deep Call, which allows you to buff other dragon types on your team. So yes, Flash Fire and a certain made up, hidden ability that I just made up, Deep Call, that allows you to buff, certain dragon types. And at level 5, it starts out with Ember, and actually not Ember. It starts out with Bite and Screech. And 2 other moves Ember, and Outrage. As to cover up both bases, both types, both Fire and Dragon. Now for the base stat total. Flarago starts with 88 HP. '85 attack. '85 special attack. '58 defense. '58 special defense. And 66 speed. All rounding out to a BST of 440. That's right, Flarago's BST is 440. Oh, and its nature. I almost forgot to mention the nature. It has an impish nature. This specific one has an impish nature. So yeah, that's right. The ability Flash Fire and an impish nature. So now the third starter. There is Naitsu. It is known as the It is known as the Brush Whisker Pokemon. The Brush Whisker Pokemon. The Brush Whisker Pokemon. Yes, it's that hard to say that. Brush Whisker Pokemon. Brush Whisker Pokemon. It's known as the Brush Whisker Pokemon. It is both water and ice type. It is 3 feet 8 inches tall, and it weighs 15 pounds. It has the ability Thick Fat, the hidden ability Dry Freezer. What Dry Freezer does is well, it basically increases any ice type move used by the one who has this ability. Any, ice type move used by said Pokemon with this ability, the likeliness for said ice type move to freeze opponent Pokemon by 5 or 15%, depending on if it's night or day. If it's day, it will only be 5% increase, but if it's night, it will be 15% increase of chance to freeze opponent Pokemon. That's what Dry Freeze does. The hidden ability Dry Freeze. Dry Freezer. Yes, it has the hidden ability Dry Freezer. And that's what it does. And now for the stats of Naitsu. Naitsu has 100 HP. Both its attack and special attack are 92. Both its defense and special defense Wait a sec. Guess it's HP stat 100. Both defense and special defense are 85. And as for its speed, is 200. This Pokemon has as I said, the ability Thick Fat, and like you guys, I hope you remember what Dry Freezer does. Basically, increases the chance for opponent Pokemon to be frozen by 5% if it's day. Increases the chance of opponent Pokemon to be frozen by 15% if it's night. Yes, that's right. Just in case you actually forgot. And I hope you guys remembered, the whole size. And, wait. Hopefully you did. And anyways, the type being water ice. It is known as the Freeze Whisker Pokemon. Yeah, that's right. The Freeze Whisker Pokemon. And has a BST, base stat total, a BST of 654. Yes, that's right. BST of 654. It's that insane. And you know why it's that insane? Because its HP and its speed are its two best stats. Because its HP is 100 and its speed is 200. And this specific Naitsu, its nature is a jolly nature. And I hope you guys know what a jolly nature would do to something with a speed stat of 200. Like what it would do for it. Like it would be damn near invincible. As for certain things, basically, with an HP stat of 100, that is extra bulk, and having your defense, special defense, attack, special attack, all be near or actual 80s, just up there, and then your speed be 200, and have a jolly nature like Jesus Christ. This Pokemon is broken. But it is known as the Freeze Whisker Pokemon. And it has the hidden ability Dry Freezer, which is insane. And its regular ability is insane, Thick Fat. Not only is it super fast and super bulky, but Fire type ain't doing shit. Nor are there Ice types, for that matter. Beyond the basic damage. But with as much bulk as this thing has. Now for who exactly chooses these monstrosities. Well, since we're going backwards, Angel decides You know, who should he pick? He decides to go with Arya. Why? Why does he go with Arya? Well, I guess he just jams with it. You know, he just gels with it. I mean, even with the defeatist, you know, ability, it has, you know, the adamant nature. An adamant nature, making it, you know, a powerhouse in its own right, even if defeatist doesn't exactly, you know, help it much or at all. But hey, with being grass flying type, any weakness to flying that its grass typing had is basically covered by the fact that it's half flying type already. And well, Andrew just seems to like Arya. And so, you know, the two friends, you know, Charlie and Baggy, basically have to decide what they're gonna choose. So they decide to huddle and, you know, make up their minds. Who are they gonna choose? And, you know, Baggy's thinking in her head, if she's gonna protect Charlie, you know, like she has decided that she is going to do, she needs a Pokemon that would be able to help her protect Charlie. And what better to protect Charlie than with the flames of something powerful? And hey, fire type, already. And you know, a powerful dragon. Sign her up. So, you know, basically what Charlie's thinking is, Naitsu's fucking adorable. And, well, you know, Jesus Christ, the HP and speed stat, and the fact that it has a jolly nature. So, yeah, she's just like all about that Naitsu energy. So, yeah, everybody basically went home, went around happy. Not really went home, but you know, basically decided that they went happy. They would be happy with what they chose. Alistair with Pichu, you know, with the NRG rock around, you know, a little rope thing, has a little necklace. With little, like, multicolored beads around. Not really multicolor, but just beads in general. You know, like pieces of fossils. From different regions. So yeah, Pichu, that can actually, due to the NRG stone, evolve into a never before seen, you know, Pikachu, like, bleh, evolve into a never before seen Pokemon. And, well, Valentino's pretty happy with what he got. The Eevee that he got. You know, he's like, alright with it. And Vox is too. And whenever we come over to the True and Blue starters of, you know, the thick of it, they're the thick of things. You know, going around Naitsu, Charlie having picked Naitsu, and you know, how she's just like gushing over it. And then there's the whole entire thing with Angel just, you know, just playing around with Arya, just having the, you know, the time of his life. And, well, Vaggie kind of, you know, like, having Flarigo and herself, like, both of them, like, you know, promise to protect. Not just Charlie, but, you know, whoever and whenever. You know, should they be a part of the friend squad, or at least somewhat a part of it? You know, promise to protect. And so now that they're finally outside the lab with their Pokemon, you know, they decide that they will go ahead and continue their journey. As their own little unit. You know, it's good, you know, to stay together, you know. Not good to stay alone, you know, take this, whatever the thing is. So it's decided that come the proper time, you know, when everyone's ready, they're gonna have a rival battle. And then the whole thing pops up. that our heroes have their Pokemon and are setting, course for greater pastures to continue their journey, they have decided on something. That before they truly go on their grand adventure, they will test their skills to see how they need to improve and what they need to improve on. Later, next time on Pokémon Sparkling Love version and Pokemon Dazzling Love version.